Welcome back to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Zerg versus Protoss, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on beautiful Persephone. It's of course the map with, where is it, the healing circle over here in the middle, and then we have this highway over on the right side of the map. I have grown very, very fond of Persephone. Now spawning right here though, in the top left-hand corner, playing with the red Protoss pieces. From South Korea, we have hero, and his opponent down in the bottom left from the beautiful country of Italy with the blue Zerg pieces, it's Reynor. Okay, so let's find out. Let's find out exactly what ended up going down between these two. This best of 5 series was played during DreamHack Dallas, a qualification match actually for the playoffs. So that means that both players really want to be moving on here out of the earlier stages of the event. Basically, it's actually pretty cool. I really like this tournament format in general. So DreamHack Dallas did something that we haven't really seen all too much as of late in StarCraft 2, where it was just one giant open bracket sign-up. So anybody could play. Like any person that wanted to play in this tournament could just go ahead and sign up, and you might accidentally find yourself playing against a pro gamer in the first round, which, yeah, might be a bit difficult, but it was very fun to watch. A lot of players decided to play very cheeky strategies, right? Whenever we did see them going up against players that were heavily outclassing them. But just these massive open sign-up brackets, they are a lot of fun to watch, but ultimately at the very end, there's really no surprise that, well, in one of the groups, it ended up being hero going up against Reynor. It was double elimination. So even if you do get, for example, like you do end up losing against some silly cheeses, you're not immediately eliminated out of the tournament. You effectively get like a second life. But yeah, it is fun to see normies like me and you go up against, well, some of the pro gamers too. Although to be fair, most of the quote-unquote normies that ended up playing were still highly ranking grandmasters. Although I'm sure there were a couple of guys that just happened to be at DreamHack and they're like, hey, there's a StarCraft tournament going on with 50 grand on the line? I'm gonna go ahead and sign up. I gotta work on my American accent. That wasn't very good. Anyways. Especially in Texas. Nobody talks like that. Anyways, it's gonna be a Stargate opener here for hero. How hard can it be? Those guys are just, you know, clicking buttons really fast. How hard can, you know, be playing a video game truly be? I'm assuming, though, if you are at a DreamHack, you probably have an understanding that gaming is pretty difficult. Although there are, I'm sure, still people out there like my grandma that are like, so what do? You just sit behind your computer all day and talk about video games? It's like, yes, grandma, that's what I do. I would love to know what my grandma says to, like, her friends whenever they ask about her grandchildren, you know? Like, how does she explain what I would love to be there in the room. It's very difficult, actually, to describe what I do for a living without it being immediately sounding kind of sketchy, you know? So, like, if my grandma were to say, like, so he sits in a room all day and he has, like, a camera pointed at his face and a microphone, and sometimes people donate money. Like, it's, you know, it could be interpreted in a weird way. Anyways, we've got ourselves a Void Ray start. We haven't really been seeing a lot of Void Ray starts. Always nice. Ooh. And we're gonna go straight into a fleet beacon. Actually, now that I think about this particular series, I forgot that I had already checked this out. I actually was one of the commentators for this particular best of 5 when it was played live. I don't remember the exact outcome of the series anymore, but this, yes, this certainly reminds me of what hero decided to go for. This is actually a super cool build. So we saw this from SOS in the GSL Code S not too long ago. SOS, one of the cheekiest players we've ever seen at StarCraft 2. He won the World Cup like a decade ago, twice. So a 2-time world champion at StarCraft 2. He decided to return to the game once more, and he qualified for the GSL, one of the most prestigious tournaments in StarCraft 2, and he invented this. So we've got ourselves a Tempest start, where we go into the good old fleet beacon really quickly and research, yeah, the tectonic destabilizers upgrade. So that upgrade allows you to deal double damage to structures with your units. Now, obviously, Reynor was also part of the GSL Code S. He is actually somebody that faced off against that particular strategy, so I find this kind of ballsy actually from hero to go ahead and do this strat right now a few weeks after the GSL was played. Reynor sees it perfectly now, coming in from a mile away. And this is going to give him all the information that he needs. Now, what does he need? He needs a Spire immediately. A Spire is... I mean, we really need to start it up. He needs to make sure that he gets the Corruptors going ASAP. You're not going to be able to defend against Tempests with Hydralisks. Queens are not going to be enough either. Basically, all you do with the Queens and the Spore Crawlers here is buy time until the Spire is done. So he's making one right now over at the third. I quite like the positioning of it. The idea, of course, is that the Tempest can't just accidentally stumble upon a Spire. If he would be building it right over here, that would be the first target of those Tempests. I know that's very obvious, but we see this all the time from pro gamers, that they're like just building the most important tech in the absolute most logical place ever. I don't think the Spire over at the third base is easily found. Now, hero is just trying to maximize damage for now. This is a very new build, and I think it is really cool. It's just that if Zerg handles it well, it's difficult to really do much with. So Reynor has been building up the perfect economy. He's buying a lot of time here as well by building up additional Spore Crawlers, which I really like. It takes 5 Tempests to one-shot a Queen. So the Queens have been transfusing each other for a little while already. Reynor has been quite liberal using that energy. I think it's a smart play. Because when the 5th Tempest joins in, which is exactly what happens right now here for hero, he's going to be able to just, well, turn his guns onto the Queens and everything will die before you can ever transfuse. What about this little Zergling Roach counterattack in the meantime on the other side? Yeah, the Queens are now being tapped one at a time. And I think what you do is you clear out the Queens, clear out the hatch, and then you go home. Ooh, this is nice though, for Reynor. Reynor knocking on the front door, and even though the Roaches did not quite, well, get invited in, we do have the Zerglings running into the base. And this might just make everything a whole lot more playable for Reynor, but he is losing the old main. So he is basically building up the fastest possible counter against this type of opener for the Protoss, and only just now is when those Corruptors come out. Overextension over hero is going to lose 2 Tempests on his way home. Okay, so as the dust settles, was this good enough here for hero? So we've had a full hatchery die, 8 Queens have fallen, we've had 6 drones fall. I think it would be a very obvious yes if he would have not had those Zerglings run into his base, and if he did not lose those 2 Tempests willy-nilly for no apparent reason whatsoever. Like, why were the Tempests flying on over in that spot, right? Like, he should have killed the Queens, killed the Spore Crawlers, killed the hatch, immediately go home. And we saw a similar overextension as well from SOS during the GSL, where he also just stuck around for a little bit too much. Like, I guess there's just like this red mist that Protoss players get, and they're like, I'm just gonna kill everything. I'm just gonna turn the guns to the natural expansion too. And then, you know, their mind's eye, the natural expansion also dies. But ultimately, the Corruptors will pop out, and, well, they're gonna be quite annoying. A little Void Ray hit squad. So we've had 5 of these Void Rays produced. Hero obviously knows that this is going to be Void Rays in anticipation of a Corruptor switch. Look at this. He's using the highway on the right side of the map. He's gonna find a base. Turn on the lasers. What? Really? Are we gonna be that greedy? Okay. He saw that. He wants to kill this base and then the 3 o'clock. Recall, however, is still on cooldown because he just used it. Yeah, so he kills the hatch. Yeah, so he kills the hatch, but that's it. Hero's dealing a lot of damage, but he's also taking a lot of damage. It's not like he's really killing expansions for free. I don't think it's really worth it if you lose all of your Void Rays to kill one hatchery, especially when you've just bypassed the 3 o'clock spot. Now, that's exactly where these units are headed, though. So the idea is, of course, to try and force as many Corruptors here out of the Zerg player as possible. We're going to be fighting over here in this weird location. I mean, he is sniping bases. 4th base in the far bottom right is going down, well, once more. I mean, I guess it's going up. He's building it once more. 3 o'clock position falls. We have a storm over here inside of the choke point. Roaches are trying to make their way through. I love those force fields. We don't have a single Ravager available. Oh, God. incredibly chaotic game. There's the Ravagers finally showing up, but they weren't part of the army here initially. Corruptors decide to go across the map once more. Man, I love this build order from Protoss so much. I think it's such a cool build. I loved it when we saw SOS do it. I like it now that we see hero do it too. But I really feel like there is still room for improvement. Because, like, we lose so many things unnecessarily, which really doesn't... Like, it doesn't need to happen. It really doesn't need to be happening like that. Anyways, Stalkers are going to blink down, kill whatever they can. In the meantime, Reynor is trying to see if he can maybe get some wiggle room right over here. I think strategically this whole setup is actually really cool. So, a 2-base start, going into a really quick fleet beacon, 5 Tempest, forcing out Corruptors for the opponent, and then already pre-countering those Corruptors by going into Void Rays, hoping your opponent then, by seeing the Void Rays, overcommits to making more Corruptors, and then following it up with a very quick Blink Stalker timing attack. I think, logistically, like strategically, it's perfect. It's a really nice style. It's just that there's a lot of, well, moving parts, and it's easy to mess up. Ooh, careful with those corrosive balls. The Stalkers actually decide to blink forward. In the meantime, we did have a round of Stalkers warped in over here too. Corruptors are being used now to use their caustic spray on one of those bases, as hero decides to walk deep onto the creep. Is there enough here? Okay, he decides to pull those Corruptors away once more. A couple Stalkers get warped in that location too. Reynor not ready to give them all up. Only, I think, 1 storm remains right now. Reynor's been dancing against his army for a bit already. Look at the APM, 650 actions per minute here on average for Reynor. So this is what it looks like on his end over here. So most of those actions you can see reflected in the far bottom right. So this is his point of view. It's so quick. Caustic spray once more available. He decides to run it away. Now, obviously the APM for Zerg players is always a little bit inflated because of the repeat rates and the repeat delays that they like to use on their keyboards. So you can't really take the exact APM number, you know, literally. Gotta take it with a grain of salt, but anyways, we have the drones zooming through those speed-up circles as Reynor has once more secured not only the bottom right, but also the 3 o'clock position. Now, though, the armies are looking way bigger. Heroes at 180 supply as we have the healing circle here being used by the Zerg. Still though, Hero's army here is a little bit... I mean, it's all low tech, right? We can say the same thing for Reynor, but Reynor is cooking up a lot of lurkers. Those are going to be his next weapon of choice. Hero tech all the way up towards that, well, fleet beacon. We have all the potential to make a Skytol's transition, but he decides to stick around on this very low-tech army, which I find a little bit curious. I guess there is a Spire out, so maybe he's a little bit concerned, but I think making like a mothership here would be awesome. Even if it's just a mothership, I think it'd be a really nice addition. Better than 4 Stalkers for sure. Either way, Hero is trying to see if he can tighten the noose right now before those lurkers are out. They're already building, though, on the production tab. We've got ourselves the seismic spines happening here too. Reynor has been dancing with the corrosive biles, trying to be on the edge of the creep. Hero right now maxed out. So this is one of those weird luxury problems where he can't actually warp in Stalkers to try and snipe those Corruptors that are puking over his base. And that does mean that this expansion will fall. In the meantime, though, we also did have the 3 o'clock base die a second time around. A lot of the roaches, a little bit overextended, but I think this is mostly Reynor trying to give them up to... Yeah, he can replace them with additional Hydralisks and even more of those lurkers. Ultimately, I don't think this is an army that is capable of killing lurkers. How many do we have? We have 9 of them right now. If Reynor can put up the 9 lurkers in a good position... Oh. That Immortal living up to its name. Reynor may be very fast, but not fast enough apparently to keep tabs on everything. Okay, yeah, so the lurkers are going to be extremely difficult to kill. Ugh. He just doesn't have the units for it at this point in time. He needs some form of detection. That's what the Oracle is going to be here for. Corruptors are going to continuously use their caustic sprays, and I kind of love it, man. Reynor's been keeping these alive ever since the early game. Forced to rush up towards those units, and he's not just throwing them away. Okay. Wait. There's another fleet beacon. hero forgot that he opened up tempests. That is... At this level of StarCraft, only hero could pull that off, man. He's making a second fleet beacon. These structures are 300 minerals, 200 gas each. Did I call him a Zerg player just now? I don't know if I called him a Zerg player. Maybe I did call him a Zerg player. Anyways, that is a very expensive structure. And it's absolutely critical that you spend your resources on effective units at this point in time. Reynor now has enough lurkers to split them up and hit the opponent in multiple angles at once. The High Templar and the rest of these units are going around the right side of the map. There are no lurkers set up in the far bottom right, but one of the tech structures over here already fell. That was indeed the Robo facility. The rest of the Zerg army now also joining in. Now Reynor has finally found where that army actually went to, as he is going to be, okay, forced to evacuate that base in the far bottom right. Tempest production once more begins. He really wanted to go Tempest, but he forgot that he started the game off with Tempest. So he made a second fleet beacon, only to then continue Tempest production. Are we going to commit here, Reynor? Okay, well, I guess if hero wants to fight, I don't really mind it for the Zerg whatsoever. We do have a cleanup eventually, but that was extremely expensive. In the meantime, the rest of the Zerg army is at the front. Another Nidus Worm gets planted down as well, just to allow some of those reinforcements to get across the map a little bit quicker. Honestly, across the board, a brilliant game of StarCraft 2. I like this position, though, for Reynor better. There's just not an easy answer to those lurkers right now. If he would have gone straight into a mothership... Oh, no. Oh, no, he's losing the Tempest to... He just lost 2 Tempests to Corrosive Biles. You kidding me, hero? Very focused, I guess, on microing this right side of the engagement. Obviously, he's playing the game not nearly as far zoomed out as I am right now. It's a little bit claustrophobic sometimes if you play StarCraft. Everything is zoomed in to this level, but it is certainly not the cleanest game of StarCraft I've ever seen hero play. I think strategically, everything he's been doing makes a lot of sense. It's just that we need to tighten things up a little bit. I mean, there is still a Tempest up in the air now. Zerg is sending in whatever he's got. It's not a lot of movement on the minimap, but Reynor is sending whatever he can towards the other side. A few more Corruptors were added into the mix too. The dancing does continue, but GG gets cold as Reynor obtains the victory in game number 1. Okay, next up, we find ourselves on a Last Fantasy. By far the most vetoed map on the new map pool. For good reason. This is a 3-player map, and in general, it's just a little bit weird. Now, don't get me wrong, that was by no means a perfect game from Reynor in game number 1. However, across the board, I do think hero played quite sloppily. So maybe I can make a little list of improvements we could see from hero that would maybe change the game immediately. First off, overextension with the Tempest early on. I really don't think that was necessary. He lost 2 Tempests before he ultimately recalled his units, just sort of flying around the main base of the Zerg, achieving nothing. Keeping 2 more alive, absolutely massive. Then he flew with those Void Rays around the right side of the map, and he just bypassed the base at the 3 o'clock position while recall was on cooldown. He could have easily killed the 3 o'clock position and then probably also the base in the far bottom right. But ultimately, he should have killed the 3 o'clock position, went, well, maybe into the corner or waited a little bit before committing to the far bottom right. So he could recall those Void Rays out of there too. We saw an overcommitment on Stalkers. We saw a second fleet beacon. We saw an additional Stargate. We never saw a mothership being produced. We saw Tempest dying to Corrosive Biles. So there were moments of brilliance there, and I think strategically that game was really, really well done by hero. But execution-wise, it was by no means the best game that I've ever seen our Protoss player play. So I feel like there's a lot of Protoss players that look at that strat and they just immediately write it off and are like, it's not that good. I really do think it's better than what we have seen so far. You know, from both SOS and then hero, I've not seen anybody else at a high level execute it yet. I think there is a lot more juice that can be squeezed from that particular Tempest opener. I'm hoping we're going to see it more, because I like it a lot. Anyways, Let's see, what do we have right over here? We're gonna go into a good old hedge opener here for Reynor. No surprise there. Pulling all the drones out at 100. Building up the metabolic boost. hero has gone for a Stargate opener of his own here once more. He could go into the fleet beacon. Certainly possible. So, by the way, a 3-player map in StarCraft 2 does not mean that it's a, I don't know, like a free-for-all map or anything like that. It's just a map with 3 spawn locations. It is meant for 2 players. Changes up the dynamic a little bit. I do think that Last Fantasy in general is a pretty good map. I don't mind it, but it's a little bit weird. And we're not convinced, right? So we've had more 3-player maps over the last couple of years that map makers made. They never made it onto the map pool, but I am not convinced that this is like the best 3-player map that we've seen over the last 5 years. We haven't seen them added into the map pool ever since like 2015, I want to say. It's been a while, man. Ooh, ooh, careful, careful. Oh, he gets the full wraparound. And that is bad. That is really bad for Protoss. Losing an Adept to a single Zergling, that is a phenomenal start for Zerg. I don't want to like oversell this, but it now makes it difficult for Protoss to, for example, get a 3rd Nexus going. If you now want to get a 3rd Nexus out, you're probably going to have to keep your Oracle at home. So if Reynor commits to a bunch of additional Zerglings, which is what he does right now. Yep. Keeping this 3rd Nexus alive can only ever really be done if the Oracle is kept at home. So hero is making a Stargate right now, or he's making an Oracle right now out of that Stargate. He wants to rally the Oracle in. He's got one, but it didn't really do any damage just yet. Here come the Zerglings. Reynor immediately making a beeline for where he knows that expansion should be. Just hitting whatever, forcing the Oracle to turn back home. Forcing it to turn on the Pulsar Beam, which wastes a bunch of energy. Reynor lost nothing there. Oracle over at the 3rd base, not achieving anything. So far, this guy has 0 confirmed kills. And this is the type of start that Zerg players love. There's really not a whole lot of debate. When you don't take any damage, you kill the first Adept for basically free. You can just, start cruising ahead. You can start cutting corners if you want to. You could skip the Roach Warren, for example. Instead, we've gone for an Evo Chamber for now, probably for +1 melee. If I recall correctly, that is what this is. Spore Crawlers. Just building here so you can actually save the drone from the Oracle. And okay. There's the 3rd Nexus. Finally done. It's by no means late. But this is one of those starts that you just... It's difficult to really build a proper follow-up off of this. Okay, Roach Warren does get scouted. He finally gets some kills here on this Oracle. It's going to be Blink on the back of this. No Forge. Would love to see a Forge right now here for hero, so you can get the +1 attack going. Generally with Forge, you do go Blink. Maybe if you skip the Forge, you can go into like Glaive to Depths or something like it. But anyways, Zergling's still running around. +1 melee is about maybe 20% of the way done. Reynor is going for a 4th base all the way on the far left side of the map. Bunch of Zerglings at the bottom. Bunch of Zerglings at the top. Those speed circles that we see on every map right now, man. It's kind of fun. I like them way better than those slowdown circles. But it certainly does feel a little bit risky. Hero decides to build up a pylon over here. And considering the probe is still around... Oh, alright. He could have easily killed that probe. He decides to now also build a gateway right next to it. Oracles have a lot of energy, though. Stalkers are falling very rapidly. +1 melee is not yet done. Queens are a little bit overextended. And you know what? That was actually about the best fight hero could have taken. Hero is committing now into a complete all-in. If this would have been a better start, like if the first 5 minutes of the game would have been better for hero, this is the type of all-in that's extremely dangerous. The Forge is super duper late. I don't know why. Finally decides to make it. Maybe just for, I don't know, a photon cannon or 2 at this point. +1 would be very late. He decides to go for charge on the back of this as well. So at least he's gonna have some longevity here. Spine Crawlers are building, by the way, in both the natural as well as the 3rd. Roach Warren is quite exposed. Oh. One Ravager cocoon there, preventing the entire group of queens from moving down to the low ground. We have some transfuses coming in, but yeah, because of that, this is not working out all too well. Now, there is a full recall, mostly because there are a lot of Zerglings in the meantime on the other side of the map. No unit on hold position in that wall off. hero once more, growing a little bit addicted to using that all-army hotkey. Why? Oh, dude, why are we doing this? Look at this. There is a Nexus building, no cancel. There is a Nexus building over at what is normally the expansion of the Zerg. What in the world is the point of a proxy Nexus? Nobody knows. You can recall to it. It's, I guess, a very big target, right? It's a lot of meat shields, I guess. You can use the energy recharge ability. We used to see it every once in a while with the shield battery overcharge. Like once in a blue moon, but it's... Man, I have seen hero play phenomenal games as of late. Like, I honestly think right now, he's on like another one of those high moments, you know? Like, we see a lot of pro gamers going through peaks and valleys. I think right now, hero is on the top of the hill again. He's been playing phenomenal StarCraft. But this entire series has been weird. Odd decisions across the board as he does repower this again, and he actually does save it. Probe was sent in once more. Zerglings trying her best to deal so much damage. Reynor's economy, by the way, really isn't that great. So Reynor only has 71 drones, yeah, so his economy really isn't that big. We've had massive peaks and valleys throughout the income advantage, but Reynor is going to be able to get the Baneling speed upgrade done. He is going to get the +2 melee upgrade done as well. He's fighting. hero still has a lot of units. It's mostly because of that eco he's had. Even though it was all a little bit late, he did get it done eventually. Stasis wards are not going to happen. We see corrosive biles landed right over there onto the oracles. Not really where they're supposed to be. Zerglings in the meantime working on the newly constructed 4th Nexus. Bunch of probes are dying too. Now the Banelings are joining in the fray. There are zealots available though, so yeah, Reynor needs to retreat once again. Man, the fact that hero is actually still squeezing a game out of this is kind of insane to me. I feel like he's been losing like ever since minute 2. I feel like he's not really done any play that has been particularly beneficial for him. I'm also not entirely sure what Reynor should have changed here though, because I really... It kind of feels to me like this game should have been over. But hero is constantly navigating the match in such a way that he's actually capable of staying alive. And ultimately right now, as the dust settles, we do have Protoss on 4 bases. He's making probes for those expansions too. It's not like Reynor is in a particularly comfortable spot. Reynor has better upgrades. The Banelings over here get spotted. But this is what hero does so well, right? Like, you'd imagine right now, I think, as the Zerg player, that you're very far ahead because you've effectively won every single one of the engagements in isolation. The trades have been pretty good. Not amazing, but pretty good across the board. Yeah. Reynor is in a good spot, but how do you decide now where to go? Do you go into lurkers? Do you go into, I don't know, hive tech? Do you sit around and maybe try to... Could go into Aspire? I love that we have an additional group of oracles, by the way, being made. Look at that. So we've lost 3 oracles. Now hero is making an additional bunch. So he has made 8 oracles, the 9th one on the production tab for this game. The norm is to only make 3, at most. Like 1 to 3 is what we see in the majority of the games. Okay. It's forcing out Hydralisks, which I find kind of funny because I don't think he really wants to play against Hydralisks. Hydralisks are extremely annoying for Protoss to have to deal with. It's like, I'm gonna force you to switch up your unit composition, but I'm also forcing it to be one that I don't actually want to play against. It feels a bit funky. Either way, That is what we are going to see, as hero is now going to switch up his expansion layout too. I think he wanted to go for the base up north, forced to go for the expansion all the way down south instead. This expansion is being left behind pretty much unprotected. There is a Templar Archives, by the way, but no Storm research for some reason. I guess we have a couple of Archons here, but I mean, they're gonna die to Zerglings, which is really not what they're supposed to die to. Massive fight over here at the front. Banelings trying to slip through the cracks. With the Oracle showing up, though, yeah, there's not really that many Hydras to really get the job done. 5th Nexus, okay, is gonna get sniped. Hive is going to finish up in a moment. Lurker Den coming up on the back of this too. Man, this expansion has been wide open for a while. Reynor making the assumption that there is going to be some way of protecting it. But he is now trying to see if he can, well, use this battering ram style army to just move up towards the high ground and shove this Protoss player out of the game once and for all. Still though, those Oracles are putting in so much freaking work, man. Now, by the way, the base over here was spotted, and I think that's Banelings destroying the mineral line. 28 kills on one of the Oracles. Yeah. All of them have a significant number of kills, but there's certainly one veteran in his army. It's this guy right over here. 28 confirmed kills. Alright, now the Zerglings swoop in to finish up this Nexus, and that is going to give Reynor another point on the board. Alrighty, next up, we find ourselves on the map Ley Lines. Let's see. So far, we have not been seeing normal games at all. Both game number 1 and game number 2 were pretty wild. I think with very small adjustments though, the scoreboard would have been flipped upside down. Now it's a 2-0 advantage here for Reynor, but a lot of little changes, a lot of little improvements, I believe, especially on the side of Protoss. Could have changed everything. Well, it is going to be a good old Stargate opener for hero. No surprise there. Reynor, of course, on match point now. He hasn't really been able to show, but he has prepared. A lot of pro gamers will prepare for a series like this, or at the very least, attempt to predict what the series is going to be like, and then attempt to at least come up with a plan for each of the potential maps. So far, it's been hero in the driver's seat of every game. He's been playing some funky strategies, some weird follow-ups. So Reynor has just been forced to be the reactionary player, right? Or the player at least that reacts. Sometimes when you try to play fancy games, you get a little bit too fancy. This is something that is generally nipped in the butt quite quickly at the highest level. Where if somebody is like cooking up a weird build, but they're like cooking it a little bit too hard, a little bit, it's usually it gets wrecked pretty quickly. So far though, hero has been able to navigate them into long games, but ultimately the plans have been executed suboptimally. I'm still not sure, by the way, what the Proxy Nexus was for. Really? We're gonna go straight Revelation? I mean, if we're gonna go straight Revelation, we should really kill the Creep Tumor. It's a 15-second ability. Okay, there we go. Doesn't last forever. Oh no. Zerglings just ran into the base. That's a little bit weird. Gonna get a full scout off. Nothing over here on the wall off. No 3rd Nexus down yet. Normal timing for the 3rd Nexus is 3:45. Where are we going? What are we doing? He loses both of the Adepts. Nexus goes down 4.5 minutes. So that Nexus is about a good, if I'm being like nice, a good 40 seconds late. What have we achieved? Like, what have we... Nothing. I would love to see Reynor capitalize on these sort of mistakes, though, because it's really, really tough for Protoss from here. At least it should be really, really tough for Protoss from here. Keep in mind that the Forge in that previous game was exceptionally late. Now hero is going Twilight Council together with a Forge at the same time. All of this is looking pretty conventional here for Protoss, but it's like hero is playing these games. Oh no. Pain. It's like he's playing these games with one eye closed. I don't know if you need depth perception when you're playing StarCraft 2 like this. Oh no, massive overextension here too. Way too many queens. Yeah, sometimes when I watch hero, I get the vibe that he wants to be like the #1 Diamond League player in the world. And I mean that with the most respect ever. Because he's got these weird tendencies sometimes in some of the series that we see him play, and he just doubles down, he just like bites down and keeps going. It's weird. Very quick Templar Archives, look at that. So we're going Blink together with the +1, straight into Templar Archives. He hasn't done anything though in the early game. He killed 1 drone. Lost a whole lot of stuff in favor of it. And then also, of course, well, a Nexus that is quite late. Okay. Reynor's decided to go Pneumatize Carapace. Now, the only reason you go Pneumatize Carapace as a Zerg player at this point in time is because you want to try and put the nail in the coffin. You want to bring the ladies towards the other side of the map in their private jets. The queens deserve the absolute best, let's be real. Storm is coming up right now, but if Reynor hits a sharp timing, Storm is not going to be finished in time. 3 drop alerts have been started up. So there's 2 right over here. 3rd one right over here too. Okay, so this one over here is for the queens. Yep. Brenda! Brenda! Get in your plane! Brenda's like, well, it's my jet. It will leave whenever I say it does. Come on, Brenda, we're on a timer here, man. We can't just sit around. 2 more queens have decided to show up a little bit late. They're mostly just, I guess, in charge of injecting. The other 2 overlords, though, are filled with Zerglings right now. This is something Reynor did a lot in the GSL as well, where he went for this, like, crazy multi-dropped aggression when Protoss didn't have a great start. We have a 4th drop alert as well. That one has been set up on the left side of the map. hero does have Storm finishing up in about half a minute from now. No, 15 seconds from now. Oh no, the High Templar are dying. The High Templar have already died. There might be 1 remaining. There's 1 right over here. So he's got 1 Storm, and it's a pretty juicy one, don't get me wrong. Zergling drop in the meantime in the main base. The other Overlord is heading on over towards the natural expansion. Absolute chaos. Stasis wards are slowing down the advancement as the queens decided to leave a little creep tumor gift behind. Yeah, probes are dying left, right, and center now, though, because those Zergling drops are just putting in so much freaking work. And if you look at the mini-map, there is suddenly just Zerg everywhere. And this is the result of playing a poor early game. This is the type of doubling down here from the Zerg player that I wish that we would have seen in some of the previous matches too, because Reynor really found himself in great positions early on and then, well, almost let the matches slip out of his fingers. Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes we see hero play like the cleanest games of StarCraft 2 that we've ever seen with Protoss, and we're like, ooh, that was tidy. That was pretty much perfect. And then sometimes he's like, yo, I'm just gonna do whatever comes up in my head. I'm just gonna execute on whatever I can. And maybe against some of the crazier players, like we've seen him do this against, for example, Dark in the past, right? And Reynor definitely also has stylistically some of that craziness in him. Maybe against the crazier players, that's what he decides to go for. But then when he plays against like the Serals of this world, or for example, the Marus of this world, his playstyle looks a lot more conventional. Either way, a great series by Reynor. He obtains the victory 3-0.